Here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine that you decide to risk multiple years of your life to go into the great beyond, where there is literally no map of you being there. You're risking your life, your reputation, your capital. You're risking everything on this epic adventure. Okay? You're like, we're not talking about Star Trek, though that would be awesome. No, what we are talking about is Lewis and Clark. And I'm going to share a whole lot more on the Furlo Capital Real Estate Podcast, where we dive into the intricacies of passive real estate investing. And our mission is to equip people to invest wisely in both property and people, no matter what trail you're on, so that together we can build wealth while improving housing. I'm James, and this is my wife, Jessie.
I think I'm a little risk adverse to do something like that.
What?
If I'm honest, like I do like exploring and going to new places, but
Yeah.
not having a map or any idea what I'm walking into would be like, it doesn't seem smart. I don't know. Maybe if
Depends on your purpose.
Yeah, like I think part of their purpose, and hopefully we'll learn more about them, was to make a map. And so, if one doesn't exist, like someone has to go out there and start writing things down.
Yeah, so it's to set the stage. Thomas Jefferson was president, had just negotiated the Louisiana Purchase with France, who decided they were like, yes, we technically own this land, but we can't defend it. So we might as well get some money out of it before the U.S. just takes it over.
Perfect.
But so they bought it, and the question was, what did we buy? That was the other fun part. Like France didn't even really know. And it was,
How did France own it?
dude, I don't know.
They sent somebody over.
Yeah, I think the Spanish had it at one point, and then the French got it.
All right.
French-Indian War, I think, was a thing.
Wild West.
Dude.
That's
yes. And even then, like, we would call that the East now.
Yeah,
But
wild.
It was crazy. And there was some sort of like, hey, it's everything above the 45th parallel. But then the big question that Jefferson had was, is there a waterway path connecting coast to coast? So they knew that the Pacific Ocean existed.
Sure.
They knew it was that way, but they didn't know how far, and they didn't know what was in between.
Oh, my word.
And so Lewis and Clark sent out with, I think there was 31 people total. And not all of them were soldiers, but with a group of dudes, we're going to go figure this out.
Explorers.
And it will take as long as it takes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy to sign up for that kind of mission where it's, we don't know if we're going to come back. We don't know what we'll encounter.
Yeah.
We have no idea if we have enough food or supplies.
But along the way, we're going to take tons of notes and
There we go.
make sure we don't miss anything. That was his secondary job, was to it was to get the path, but then it was also to note different plants, different animals, topography.
That would be
all the stuff.
really fascinating because
Yeah.
you'd find so many new things that you're just like, oh, I've never seen this before.
What were they saying? It was, he is up there. I can't remember if he's number one. But it was like for the most discovered things of a single person.
Wow.
Like he's top 3.
That's pretty cool. So you're saying, so they started in Louisiana or near Louisiana.
I started in D.C.
Okay.
Or
So all
wherever,
all the way in the east.
Yeah.
And we're going to go all the way.
He was like the
across the
only
US.
guy, him and the group, were
Sure.
the only ones to go coast to coast for a long time.
Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah.
And the first ones in history
Yeesh.
to do it,
And there is still,
as far as recorded history.
I don't know if there's a trail that you can walk their pathway, but there is some sort of trail you can go coast to coast, right?
Probably. Yeah. I
I
mean,
think so.
in theory, like you can take, what is it, Highway 20.
Yeah.
you could go, that takes all the way from Newport to Boston.
Okay.
So there's now
that's pretty close.
Ann Road, which is pretty crazy. And no, they
wild.
ended up actually going, they followed mostly the Missouri. And so they went up north, up Minnesota, Montana, and then a little bit through Idaho, ultimately ended in Oregon, in Astoria, in
Hey.
Seaside.
Yeah.
That was where that's where
they hit the
finished.
coast.
And then they're like, cool, this place is miserable. Turn around and go back home.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
As organ transplants. I think they said so. The Oregon coast is
Yeah, they hit there at wintertime.
Ooh,
And you're just like,
worst.
I'm so sorry,
it's
guys.
like, it's like rainy, cold,
So
blustery.
bad. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it was. And they were having trouble keeping their food and other stuff. And at one point, they were like, would they miss? Because that was their second winter. And their first one was, it was up north. I want to say like Montana area-ish. But yeah, it was like snowy. But they were like, that was great because
Yeah,
it
it's
was
kinda
snow
pretty.
and it was sunny.
You
and
would
it
at
was
least
like,
build shelters and
they
stuff.
they had some good Indian friends. Okay. The book uses the term Indian the entire time. That's probably what I'm going to default to just because I've been listening to that for hours upon hours. Also, further back here, this is part of the U.S. is turning 250 years old. Yep. And so I am listening to history books. I started with Washington, and now I'm on Lewis and Clark. And now I will start another book, and we'll probably talk about each of them because I think there's lessons to learn from history for it. But yeah, so read the book, and it was really good. The ending, I'll be honest, like, sad. Lewis did not finish well.
Oh.
Yeah. I think part of what happened was he had this grand epic adventure, which is like what we're going to focus on. But in the end, he became governor of the Louisiana Territory. Oh. And Jefferson's hypothesis, he goes, the man wasn't meant to sit still. Yeah. And he just, idle hands. It wasn't good.
It's a bummer.
He ended up actually committing suicide. Oh. And super sad. But that's not what we're going to focus on because he had an amazing first part of his life and a ton of potential and was like one of Jefferson's closest like confidants, friends.
Wow.
That kind of thing, which I didn't actually know.
Yeah.
And Clark was like borderline best friend type of thing. And they ended up, after that adventure, they stayed together.
Lewis and Clark were best friends.
Correct.
Which kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
they spent a ton of time together.
Yeah.
Had the shared
but interestingly, they didn't know each other that well before the expedition. They had done it was like 4 months together. But I guess there was like just an instant bond where they're like, you're my guy. And so,
I get that. So, there are certain people I would choose for the zombie apocalypse and others not so much.
Yeah. So what I want to do is take you through what?
Flow past that. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
That is how I view this expedition. It's zombie apocalypse level. Like, I'm putting together my team. We may not survive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely some of that. But yeah.
Compared to, this is like total tangent.
Do it. Tangent me away.
Comparative to the Donner Party, Oregon Trail-esque type of story.
Okay.
How do events that happen in this expedition compare? Is it like, they were great, they were fine?
Dude, everyone lives, for starters.
Wild.
Oh, yeah.
How?
Let's get into that. Yeah, so for starters, I got to admit, I had some misconceptions. I thought it was like Meriwether Lewis, William Clark, and Sacagawea. Just like,
it's the three of them.
Yeah. No, there were 31 people total in this party. Like, they happened to be the captains.
I guess maybe that is, I don't know. Like, I get that from like a historical photo or image perspective. I'm going to draw all 31 of these other support characters. Like, it's just the main people.
Yeah,
that's the main story.
Which we'll get into the main people part of it as well in a little bit if I ever get to these field notes.
What is that called in a movie where you have a body? There's a person.
It's like an extra.
Yeah, an extra.
Or, what is it? Yeah, it's like when you have those movies that have classrooms and there's clearly like these are the five main kids.
These are the main kids.
But then there's 20 other kids in the class.
Yeah, we know there's a classroom over there.
And every once in a while they might say something, but honestly, like it's only three other people who might have a speaking part. Everyone's just quiet. That's very much what happened. Which is fine. That's how it is.
Yeah. I'm sure they did a lot.
They did do a lot. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that. I have field entry notes because they made
journals,
tons of just notes and stuff.
Maps. I wonder if there's a map like that you can look up.
Man, I tried looking at a map of what? Of their journey?
Of their journey.
Yes, there is.
Like that they recorded.
So Clark was in charge
together.
of writing the map, and you can actually see the map that
cool.
the final map that he made. It is online. You can search for it. And then you can obviously find maps as well of their course that they took.
Okay.
And finding copies of the journals is incredibly hard. And because I've looked for it, because I was like, dude, I would love to see this journal. And apparently when Lewis got back, this was part of the issue, like he never actually got around to publishing his work, but he had all the original notes and stuff. And then after he died, that was where Jefferson got a hold of it and was like, he and Clark were like, okay, we're going to put this thing together. But then years had passed and interest had waned. So they only printed like 1,000 copies of it. And I think if you get your hands on it, like that's not a cheap book to get. And then over time, there's been other versions of it that have been put together. There's one now, it's like 10 volumes. It's it's bigger than this of all the stuff and combining all the notes and things. And that's like a few $1,000. I was like, dude, man, I'm not ready to drop 4 G's on a set of books. But
maybe excerpts are good enough.
Yeah. I would love to see some of the original copies of like the original notes and pictures because they drew all the birds and the plants and rivers and whatever in there. Super cool. Okay. Field entry number 1. Obvious, we've already talked about it. They left without a map.
Yep.
It didn't exist. As we were talking about. Yeah, so we already talked about this. Jefferson, he commissioned them because he was like, what is this thing that we bought? And we just want to know about the continent in general. and they believe there might be a water route, but they just didn't have any proof of it. No white man had ever been that far. And obviously no GPS, no reliable maps, just no precedent. There was nothing. And so what I'm going to do is here's a situation, and then we'll tie it into, so from an investor standpoint, kind of thing, right? This is almost how every meaningful deal happens, right? You don't have perfect comps. You don't necessarily have clean and perfect projections. We joke about that all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes the argument would be like, if it was obvious, it would have already been priced into it. And so probably wouldn't be a good deal. And I would say oftentimes the clearer the roadmap, the lower the return.
Sure.
So you and I, we were looking, jokingly, obviously, to who when you listen to it, I sent a property out to my family. I was like, guys, I found this awesome vacation rental. We should buy it because it's in Italy, in the town of Furlo.
It's pretty sweet.
Sounds awesome. 5 bedroom, 7 bath, $4 million. But it looks amazing.
It's incredible. There's a pool.
And that one, the unclear path is how to actually pay for it. But like all the renovations done, it's ready to rock. It looks amazing. And so the closer you get to that, the more like the less of a good investment opportunity it is. But the more it's more of a, man, I don't know what happens when we open up this wall. Yeah, that's where deals can be had. But
there's a bigger payout for more risk? Is that always the case?
Typically. There should be.
So interesting.
Yeah.
If you think about Lewis and Clark, that was the case. Like they took incredible risks, but the payoff was also incredible.
Yeah. And I can't remember if I put this in my notes or not. Yes, they did take incredible risks, but they were also careful. They assembled an awesome team.
They had a team.
Like, getting ahead of myself here. But yeah, anyways.
So they didn't, it's not like they knew they didn't have a map or anything. It's because they didn't have how do I want to say this? Because they didn't have a map doesn't mean they didn't have a plan of sorts.
Correct.
They did do.
They were essentially like,
thinking,
we're going to take this river as far as we can go.
Yeah.
We know
Then
there's the
we'll
Continental
adjust.
Divide. There's some Rocky Mountains out there. And then they were like, And
so like in real
they had
estate, you may not know all the different information or exactly where you're headed, which could be a good thing, but you have a plan. You've got something.
And so this reminded me a lot of our Baker Tower investment, right? It's the tallest building in Oregon, east of the Cascades. It's 10 stories. There's 23 units. There's a lot of stuff there. And the numbers were really messy at the beginning.
Right.
There's so many moving parts for it. And I could see back of the napkin, this is a good deal. I know it's a good deal, but I got to run through the numbers as best as I can. And there were just so many unknowns. It's like one of them, turning the upper floor rental into a vacation rental. Like, I think I know what it'll rent for. I think I know what the demand is, but I don't actually know.
You don't actually know.
Same with the ballroom, repositioning that.
Doesn't exist
This is a
anywhere
premier
else.
place for people to be.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And so there was a lot, the unknowns were high. There's directional conviction there. And so the mental model that I thought of was, it's not that clarity is necessarily a prerequisite, but direction is.
Yeah.
You gotta know, this is the goal.
That
This
makes
is how
sense.
we're going to get there.
Sure.
Yeah. Field entry number 2, the Portage around Great Falls. So Portage, I'm sure you're fully aware of what this, not porridge, but Portage, which is essentially you take your boats and you carry them across land. It's as miserable as it sounds.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So you get to a point where you're like, oh, the water stopped, but there's a river 10 miles that way. Let's get some logs. Let's roll it. Let's pick up all this stuff. Let's go. So what happened was the expedition, they hit the Great Falls of the Missouri. And what are you going to do? There's no detour.
You're not going to ride your
It was an
boat down that.
18-mile portage. Uphill, by the way, because of how waterfalls work. So they carried the boats, the supplies, equipment. They had to build crude wagons in order to pull this off.
My word.
And just the terrain itself was it was brutal.
Yeah, it's like
what they
mountainous.
talked to us about were prickly pear thorns. Their feet were all cut up. Like I think it was Clark specifically was like at one point he was like I can't walk. My feet are all
my
bloody
word.
and blistery from
the
thorns
thorns.
because they were just wearing moccasins out once because. Your clothes only last so long in that. And so they would go hunting, get some deer or
my
bison or
word.
whatever. And then they were making clothes. They were all like, they knew how to sew. They knew how to do their own medicine.
Holy cow.
Turns out Lewis was a great
I
doctor.
would not have even thought of that as a thing, but it's, if you're hiking hundreds, if not thousands of miles, like you're going to need a couple pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the same pair. And I would imagine their initial pair of shoes were not that great.
So it was classic. When they got back, it was just all leather. That's what they had.
That's what,
Yeah.
Was what
They thought it was only going to take a few days. No, it took a month for them to do it. It was miserably hard. So this, by the way, so the insight there is this is what real friction can look like, right? It's not necessarily catastrophic failure. It's just relentless difficulty, right? And most deals don't fail dramatically. It is more of that, like the timeline stretches out or the costs start to creep in, or more importantly, your energy and interest level drains. I have had this on a piece of land where I was super excited about doing some development work. It wasn't working out. The numbers didn't make sense. And I was like, okay, I got to go back to the drawing board. I'll think about it. And a couple years later, I was like, oh yeah, I got this thing. I got to do something with it. And so one of the things that you just got to plan for is not necessarily that big risk downside, though you definitely should, but it's just what's that slow grind? You got to be aware of it. And so it reminds us, we did a flip in Lebanon and it was the person living there, he was older, starting to have dementia, was talking about going into hospice, and the family was like, we just want to get rid of it. And so we bought it and got a really good seller financing deal on it and then sunk $100,000 into fixing it up. And it was just hard because part of the problem that we ran into was the timeline just kept slipping. And it was one of those at first, they were like, oh, we can get this thing done in 2 months. They didn't start the project for a month. They were like, okay, so now we're like 3 months. And then it turned out like they were still trying to do other jobs and finish it up and jumping around. And it just kept going. And at first, like I was not mentally prepared for that. As a matter of fact, we were like, oh yeah, we know you can't get to the first week. So my partner and I, we went and did the demo. We're going to get you guys ahead. And then then they saw like once things opened up, they're like, actually, we kind of need to demo a little bit more.
Oh my word.
And we just it just kept going and going. And we were like, oh, okay. Okay. And then part of what happened is we were like, the cost is what it is. Yeah. Don't go over it. And so the timeline was the thing that gave. Sure. And which is fine. It happened. But there was emotional fatigue that happened there. There was decision fatigue because it kept being like, okay, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. There was just that capital drag that was happening. Like the money just kept being tied up and it took a year to go through this. A project that I was like, oh, we'll easily be wrapped up in 6 months. Yeah, it didn't happen. So your mental model is you don't just underwrite outcomes. You want to underwrite that endurance piece as well. I think that's important.
That is true. Heading into the deal, setting your expectations correctly can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I've gotten better about that now. I'm like, whatever our timeline is, we just double it.
Yeah.
Done. If you tell me 6 months, I'm underwriting a deal and I'm telling everybody 2 years.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're doing.
Yep.
So getting better at it. Okay, field entry number 3. Oh, you're going to love this one. The mountains weren't supposed to be there.
Oh, my word.
So after months of navigating the Missouri, they finally reached what they believed was the final obstacle. It was a single range of mountains they expected to cross and then descend easily to the Pacific. Instead, they hit what are called the Bitterroot Mountains. So they got over the Rockies, hit the Bitterroot Mountains, and it was at this moment where this
no.
Shoot. Because it wasn't just one mountain range, it was range after range to the point where like they couldn't see the end of it.
Yeah.
And there was no clear path and winter was setting in. And it was just like okay, here we go. And so they began the crossing. Horses were starving. There was like almost no foraging available. Men, they were eating this. It was this portable soup that they had, which was described as, not very delicious. They were even eating their own horses. At one point, they were starting to eat some dog. Like they just had to do it.
Yeah.
The snow eventually got so deep that they could barely move forward, and progress was just like a few miles per day. It was pretty bad. At one point in time, they were entirely reliant on a Shoshone guide. What was his name? It was like, I can't remember. It was like Relax George, something like it was the way his name was, or Get Lost Al or something like that. It was a funny name. I don't remember what it was, but it was good. Anyways, they were like, "Gotta get us out of here, man." Which he did, by the way. Obviously, they made it. And and it was just this. And the hard part was what they thought was gonna be like, "Oh yeah, we'll just go to the mountains and keep going." No, it was like one of the most dangerous and demoralizing parts of the expedition. Wow. Which again, like there were a couple of those, as you can tell. And so they didn't just face difficulty, because we've already talked about that, like the grind. It was just that realization that their mental model of the journey was completely wrong. That's the point that I'm trying to get across with this one. The insight is every serious investment has this wasn't supposed to happen moment, or you tear open a wall and go, oh, okay. And so that's like the real risk in the deal. That's how you respond when those deal breaks. When the deal breaks your expectation.
Yeah, when you have to reset your expectations, how will you respond?
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of investors who turn back that with people with rentals. You get a bad tenant.
Yeah.
And they destroy your unit and they just go,
You're
I'm
just
out.
like, I'm done.
I don't want anything to do with this. This is
Yeah.
not what I was expecting from it, which is fine. I think about our line apartments. It's 11 units. When we bought it, it was 50% vacant, and we decided to rehab the entire thing. And I remember that there was a point where we were going through just the rehab plan. So this is super early on in this investment.
Yeah.
And I got so overwhelmed because like we had fixed up an unit.
Like one.
And all of a
at
sudden,
time.
everything was 11 times the amount that it used to be. And I just was like, I don't know, man. I became deer in the headlights for a bit. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Which thankfully, I got really good advice from my dad, who was like, he goes, you already know how to do one unit. Forget about 10 of them. Just do the one.
Just focus on one.
And then once you got that one turned, do the next one. Once you got that one turned, do the next one. And so that was actually what I did. And it was funny. Like once I thought it through and planned it, it suddenly became, I guess if I'm buying carpet, I don't want to buy it 11 times. So I'll just order it all at once. I guess if I'm buying an appliance, I don't want to buy just one. I guess I'll buy all of them. And so I quickly was able to re-expand out to the 11, but it was, but man, it was there. I remember that. It was that moment where I was like,
This
what
is so
did I get
much.
myself into?
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is more money than I've ever spent on anything. It was,
you have to chop it up into reasonable chunks. It reminds me too of like the mental game that you play in sports or athletics. Like I can remember running. There is a piece of like physically training, being fit, getting your body ready. But if you come up against a hill that you weren't expecting, or the hill just keeps going, that is mentally exhausting. Like it's challenging. And you do have to reframe your expectation to be like, okay, I'm just going to take one more step. There's a hill and I'm going to get to the top and it's going to be okay. Or you say, this is too hard. I'm done. I can't do it. But that reframing of expectations is super hard.
Yeah. You definitely, man, you hit that point. We recently took over managing a place too, a larger apartment building. And we walked in with like knowing, there's a few vacancies. And it turned out like there was, it wasn't quite twice as many. It was a lot. You're like, oh shoot.
All right.
And we definitely had that other moment where we're like, okay. But ultimately it was like, okay, just one step at a time, which I think was their thing. They're like, nope, we're just going to.
I can't even imagine getting to the top of this mountain range being like, yes, it's downhill from here.
Yes. But like, where's the shoot?
It's just, I can't even see the end.
Yeah. I just don't even know. How
So
far
defeated.
is this? Oh my word. Yeah. So bad. So bad. So expect the unexpected and price in your own reaction, not just the risk. That's like the mental model. Expect it.
Interesting. You got to play like the what if game.
Yeah, a bit of it.
What if and would you rather?
Yeah, I actually just
Talk
listened to
about
this other really cool podcast, little Andrew Huberman, a few nerds out there, and he was talking to a scientist talking about setting goals and stuff, and it was really interesting. She said two things that happen where successful people is number one, for whatever reason, they see, like they were talking about like physical sight, they see things closer than normal, and part of it is like they might be in better shape, so that it doesn't look at something. Doesn't look as far to someone who's in good shape versus someone who's not. There's that physical aspect of it, but they do a job of focusing on what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing. Like they don't focus on the annual goal; they focus on the week goal, the daily goal. That's it, and then they end up hitting it. Yeah. And we've had that running sometimes, right? Where it's I'm struggling, okay, just to the post,
What's today?
Just to get to the tree, get to the end of the block.
Like, with running
that kind
too.
of stuff. Yeah, that's what people who do it. And then they talked about Michael Phelps and how he won 8 gold medals in Beijing, his first one. And he had already won 7. And if he did the breaststroke, I think is what it was, which was his best race, it was his final one. If he won 8, he was going to set the record. Well, when he jumped into the pool, his goggles started filling up with water. Right? Not great. But what they talked about was that he and his coach had practiced the what if this happens. And his coach had taken it like, he jumped into the pool. Before he jumped into the pool, his coach would like tape and snap his goggles on him just to mess with them. And then he would have to do it. And so one of the things he learned was he knew exactly how many strokes to do for each thing. And so Phelps talks about, I just closed my eyes and just started counting. He goes, and I knew it.
My word.
And so he ended up winning, it's crazy impressive. Yeah. And so anyways, they were talking about that for goal setting. It's you got to have that worst case scenario.
Yeah. Like, if you don't have everything in place exactly the way you want.
Also counterintuitive to me, which I don't know what to do about this. They say, how like you can create a vision board or stuff like that, or maybe tell other people about your goal. Yeah. They go, the risk with that is, they say in order to get motivated to actually do something, you have to have like a little bit of stress It's like I forget which kind of blood pressure it is. Like you actually have it raise a little bit. And that's like, you're getting going. It's almost like nervous energy type of thing. They go, but they said what happens is if you're like, I want to do a goal. So you go and make a vision board, you accomplish something. Oh. And you made it. And you actually watch your motivation. They watch you like actually calm down and your motivation lowers. Same thing if you tell other people, oh, I'm going to write a book. And people go, that's awesome. They go, you get the endorphin hit from people going, that's awesome. They go, and it's actually, it dramatically decreases the chances of you writing a book or doing whatever. I know, right? So I'm like,
that is a strange psychological principle.
So what they tell you to do, apparently, and like I'm not a genius at this, I don't know. What they tell you to do is to focus on what are those downsides? What happens if you don't hit the goal? And what happens for those barriers and obstacles that get in your way? Because it helps you like think through the path on how to get around it, but it keeps that stress level high. And so you're motivated to not you're better off to focus on not having the bad thing happen than the joy of the good thing.
That's weird. I would have to noodle on that a little bit more. I'm trying to think of scenarios
has nothing to do with the book.
In my own life. Is that really how I would function? I think it is more often than not. But anyways.
So I want to talk about something controversial.
Oh boy.
Okay.
It's Indians, isn't it?
I'm so excited to get canceled. Yes. And Sacagawea in particular. This is field note number 4.
Oh.
Yeah.
Americans.
Yeah. It's okay. So again, I'm about to get canceled. I can tell.
Oh boy.
Okay. So I got to be careful on how I say this. I don't see the big deal with her. That's my takeaway. Okay. She helped on the trip. I will admit this. Like she was valuable to have there.
Yeah.
Right. She joined pretty early on. She was young. She had recently just had a kid and was traveling with that kid, which any mom will be like, dude, that in and of itself is impressive. So there's that.
Sure.
She wasn't in command of anything. And she was actually, so the deal was like, she was actually with her husband. It was the husband who they really were interested in having on the team. And then she came along, oh, there's this one Indian tribe way further down that she happened to, so she was part of that tribe and then was captured from an enemy tribe. And then that was when her husband like either bought her or rescued her from there. And so this other tribe, no one had ever talked to. And so they're like, oh, you can be our interpreter person. And so that's what she did. So like she was helpful for a couple conversations. And they did talk about how she regularly she shared the tent with Lewis and Clark and her husband to stop other guys from being a temptation for other guys. Yeah, I learned that too. The other guys were very friendly with all the ladies across the land, and all of them had some sort of venereal disease. And you're like, gosh. Except for the captains, they were pretty cool. And I was like, oh man. Yeah. Anyways, it was I think it was again the Shoshone tribe. I think that might have been hers. I can't remember. Sorry. But anyways, what I thought was interesting is that as they moved through unfamiliar territories, they were constantly at risk of being perceived as a war party. Oh, think about it. You got a group of armed men.
Guys,
that equals a threat. But, and here's what's interesting. You got a woman traveling with a baby, that signals something completely different. And that regularly, they were like, at least it was highlighted a few times in the book, where they were like, oh, hold on a second. Like,
what are you doing?
What's up with you guys? Like, who's this? Who's she? And so that was helpful, just her presence.
Yeah, I guess I would I can see both sides of the story. I will say, like, all of my experience growing up,
worthless for the record.
I will say all of my experience growing up, the interpretation that we got of Sacagawea was that she was like guiding them.
Yeah, kind of a Pocahontas type of figure.
Yeah, like she's
this way, guys.
Yeah, she knows the land. She knows where she's going. She knows the tribe, and so she's in charge. She's quote unquote in charge or
she's
leading.
Like the tour guide.
But more it sounds is she was a part of the trip, and lots of things she did were highly valuable. Like this example of they weren't seen as like a warring tribe because they're like, why do you have this lady with you?
As they got closer to where she grew up, they were supposed to go, oh, I know where we are. I've been here before. And they were like, oh,
it's like, that's
awesome.
valuable.
Cool.
To have.
Yeah. Especially when you're going over those mountains and you're like, I don't know, man. How much further? She goes, oh, I know this
place.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited for the next one.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So, yes.
Was her role maybe overglorified? Probably.
Yes. But
Yes.
yes. And the thing,
Was she a unique individual on the trip? Yes.
yes. And all the other guys were very valuable.
Yeah.
Like it was borderline. Had they not had everyone, I don't think it would have been a success.
Sure.
Because actually part of what the plan was initially was they were going to go partway through and then they were going to send a couple guys back with the journals they'd written so far, just so we have it. And at that point, both Lewis and Clark were like, we need everybody. All hands on deck for this. Like it's critical.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so obviously we can't run the experiment to know if that was true, but that was how they felt in the moment. You think about the Portage thing, right? Like, dude,
Just
you need all of
you
them.
miss a couple. And
a lot of them, they were going upriver, by the way. So like they were pulling ropes, doing all sorts of stuff, navigating. It was intense.
Sounds brutal.
It was super hard work. And yeah, like she was there. Like she didn't help out with any of that part of it.
It was keeping another human alive.
I know. I'm just when you think about like what was the overall goal and what were they doing, I was like, yeah, she was there. She was valuable. Along with everybody else.
I think it's interesting that none of the other dudes had wives or their wives didn't join them. Like, really, was that only Frenchman? Was he the only one who had married a Native American and she got invited along?
So here's the deal. They actually met them on the trail.
Oh.
So they were not part of the original
They weren't part of the original group.
Folks. I can't remember if it was at their first fort that they got to or like the second.
That makes more sense.
It was pretty early on. But yeah, they met him and they're like, dude, you're super valuable to have around. And she was like, yeah, I'm from this area where you guys are headed. They were like, hey, we should talk. And they couldn't, and Lewis and Clark couldn't talk directly to her. Like the husband did the translation between all of them. Dude, there were so many times where it was like, they were translating like 4 different versions through to get it back to them.
Oh, my word.
It was so intense. A lot of sign language is really crude. This way. Hello.
Going that way.
Yeah. It was
There's
crazy.
mountains.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Okay. They didn't succeed because the group didn't succeed because they were the smartest. They succeeded because they had the right people. And I think that's important. Like when you're investing with somebody, like you don't necessarily want the genius investor, thankfully.
What you're saying is you want a woman on your team.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Specifically a Native American woman who speaks multiple languages.
Who's also a mother.
Who's also a mother. That's, oh my gosh, you're going to get me so much trouble.
I'm sorry. This is why I think this is why it's a big deal, is because like in many other cases, women are not included, not seen, not valued, not any of that.
Yeah.
Which even if you think about her situation, like she was bought out of slavery or something. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I
you.
totally get someone wanting to overcompensate to be like, no, she was valuable and she was a woman. She survived this thing. Not only that, she just had a child. That's crazy. That's so hard. So it's like, I totally get it. I totally get it. But yes, your point stands. You should have the right people on your team, regardless of their gender or
yes, we are a non-discrimination
or race
organization
or age,
yes,
or genius level. Just if they have abilities that you need,
yes,
put them on your team.
and there's other side quest just for the fun of it because I think this is so fascinating.
Yeah,
is you have companies who want to have a more diverse team.
Sure,
because there's tons of value in having different perspectives, like just from different backgrounds and all the stuff like we were just talking about. Super important. But here's what's fascinating is they find that you get a different outcome. Let's just say, I don't know, we're going to make up a number. You want to bring in 10, you have 10 openings. And we want to make sure that it's a more diverse set of people. You get one outcome if it's one manager hiring 10 people versus 10 managers hiring one person. Because what happens is, think about this from your manager perspective. If you only have one hire, you're like, I'm looking for the best of the best, period. I don't care about diversity is important, but what I care about is the best for this one role. And so it tends to homogenize towards male, that kind of thing, just because it is. Because for reasons, just the way the culture works, they tend to have that objectively from the ways you can measure it, the best. It's a local maximum, I guess is what I would say.
A lot of people would argue is a problem. However, it's also a reality.
Yes. But if you have a single manager who's in charge of hiring 10 people, they no longer focus on the one, they focus on the entire group and go, what's better for the organization, the group? And they will dramatically add a lot more diversity to the group because they're not trying to get the they're not trying to optimize on a single vector is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And so you get a lot more diversity. Yeah. It's a very interesting problem that larger organizations have to try to grapple with, because they'll say, yes, at an organization level, we want this. But when the decisions are pushed down, which is the right thing to do, it doesn't tend to optimize best for diversity. It's a weird problem that there's no easy solution for outside of. That's why you do get like the mandates for, hey, we're going to have some percentage of someone needs to be XYZ. It's like trying to solve that particular problem.
Sure.
Because as an individual, you won't do it, but if you don't have a choice, then you will. But then you get resentment and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
was I only chosen because I was
even the manager
Hispanic
were like,
male.
oh, you're a diversity hire. You know what I mean? You're like, dude. Ugh. Which, it's
messy.
Complicated, messy. Anyways, that was just a little side thing that I find interesting and super hard to solve.
Interesting.
I don't know what to do about it. All right. So speaking of people, most investors overanalyze deals and potentially underwrite the people doing it. And we've talked about this a lot of times previously on the podcast. Again, it's about the sponsor. It's about the person. Like that, what matters most. Oh yeah. I was like, well, what do I mean by that? So I remember our very first duplex that we bought, Columbus, was, why are you smiling?
Well, I just remember the feeling of it seemed like a lot of money at the time. And there was a lot of stuff that needed to happen on it.
But what I think was interesting, so specifically, one of the things that happened was during the inspection period, the guy crawled under the house and found standing water in the crawl space.
Yep.
And he got out and was like, I don't know if I've ever seen a crawl space quite that bad before. And for us, newbies, we're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. But thankfully, our agent was an awesome team member. And he was able to say, okay, I understand this. Everything's solvable. Let's figure out what it would take to solve this. And so through some negotiation, having the seller take care of some stuff, and then we were able to do some research and come up with a plan to fix some other things. It was eventually dry, and it was great. And it ended up being a good purchase. And the point of my story was like, we just had a good agent who was on our team and was able to help and guide us. And so I think that
makes a difference.
Is important.
Yeah.
Okay. Field entry number 5. I can feel you getting excited. This is the last one. And I think this is okay. When everyone thought they were wrong is the name of this one. Oh. Okay. So the expedition reaches this critical fork in the river system and it heads off in 2 directions or it goes from 2 into 1 because again, they're all going upriver. And the question is, which one's the true Missouri? Wasn't certain. And again, this isn't just a small, let's just pick one, right? Like you go in the wrong direction, it's wasted time, wasted supplies, potential failure of the entire mission. And so the problem was that the rivers didn't clearly match expectations. And obviously there's no map. You go, which one's which? And there was no external way to validate it.
Wow.
And let's see here. Okay. So they essentially they're like, I don't know, I guess we'll hang out here for a little bit and try to think it through. And then they went, we're going to send parties up a couple days on one, up a couple days on the other.
Come back.
They get to a point where it's crazy. Everyone in the group is like, it's this one, except for Lewis and Clark. They're like, I hear you guys, but I'm pretty sure it's this one.
Oh my word.
This other one. And it's like 100, including Sacagawea, 100% of everyone else is like, guys, you're idiots. It's obviously this one. And they're like, I know what you're saying, but there's like subtle hunch and just like in watercolor, water speed, all that stuff. We're like, I feel pretty good that it's this other one.
Wow.
And it was to the point where like, okay, we're going to sit on it for another day. Maybe we'll do a little more exploring. Like we get it. Like they heard everybody. And ultimately it was crazy. Ultimately they were like, okay, we're going the way that we think is right. To which, to their credit, all the men were like, I totally think you're wrong, but let's go.
That's a good team.
Yeah.
To trust their leadership.
And it was based on, again, subtle observations, directional reasoning. And it was based on just judgment, not certainty, obviously. Yeah. Like they were like, oh man, we think so. And so they did it. And what was crazy is, so there's they know there's another set of falls, which it's back to the other set of falls that we're talking about. They're like, that's our sign that we picked the right one. Oh, and so they're like, here we go. And at one point, Lewis is just like, they're just going and going. Again, they don't really know how far. And he's, oh my gosh, I so hope we see these falls. I so hope. And he just talked about how he heard it. And he was like, no. Yes. So much stress, just instantly relieved. He was like, these are the most prettiest falls I've ever seen in my life. Which I don't doubt that they were absolutely amazing. And then he was like, oh my gosh, that's not just one. Like it's a whole series of falls. And that was when the Portage thing, they were like, oh, okay, here we go. But yeah, just crazy where it was like everyone was saying, this is the direction. They're like, I hear you. I really do. But
we're not going that
we're going to go this other way. And they turned out to be right. It's amazing. You're like, dude, crazy. And
that's wild.
And
like, where would they have ended up if they went the other way?
It was headed more south. And I don't actually know the answer to that because they never explored it. It would be fascinating to be like,
interesting. Like if you followed the Missouri,
what would the other one have done?
Yeah, would they end up in Texas?
There was something else. It wasn't this one, but there was another time where they chose a direction and it added 2 months to their trip, which they were like, whatever, we're here exploring, we're seeing it. Like, what do we care as long as we get there?
Sure.
But in retrospect, they were like, oh, that was like,
we could have just
right through. That would have been really convenient. It happens. So at some point, every serious investor, they face a fork where the data isn't conclusive and the crowd doesn't necessarily agree with you either. And so the question becomes, do you need agreement or do you need conviction? And consensus, it is comfortable, but it's not always profitable, right? This is the whole Buffett, right? Sell high, buy low, that kind of thing. Because everyone's doing the opposite of you at that point. And even if everyone agrees with your deal, or I would say, and if everyone's like, this is obvious, you should totally do that, that itself might be a slight warning sign that it's already been overpicked. Yeah. I remember we flipped a piece of land in Indiana. Never saw the piece of land, never visited it, just did some data science
like
stuff.
The Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what is this thing I bought? Yeah, no, I had a Google Maps. That was how I checked it out. And I remember that was one where, like, even you and I were like, we're not,
what are we doing?
Are we really going to put 40,000 cash into this piece of land out in the middle of nowhere? What's the plan here? I was like, no, it's all good. I took a class on it online. It's fine. Jack Bosch, it's great. And would you let me do it? But it was definitely like not normal.
Yeah, not standard.
Yeah, because I remember I eventually talked about that purchase and taught a class on it. I had a lot of people come up to me and was like, what? This was out of nowhere. And which was in the class, he was like, yeah, no one does this. He's like, it's crazy. If you're doing flips, he's like, man, you got to it's competitive. You got to get after it. But in a land game, he's like, there's nobody calling. And there's no attendance, toilets, termites, nothing. Super easy. I was like, it was pretty easy-ish. It's gambling to a degree, unless you buy it at a reasonable price, which is what I did. I bought it at like 50% market value. So I was like, all right, I feel pretty good. I'll make money off of this, which I did. And yeah, so the trick is you don't necessarily want to move recklessly, but you do want to have that informed conviction. So your mental model is you don't need consensus. You need a defensible thesis and a willingness to live with it.
See, that's the piece. Okay, that's what that was the phrasing that I was waiting for, because I was like, okay, I'm like, how do you get over the fact that we could be wrong? What would that have turned out? Would their team have been like, that's it, we're so done, like we're going on our own, we're gonna split, or I don't know. Like,
I get that sense. They were pretty good leaders. It's also like, do this 31 of us out in the middle of nowhere, like we're all we got. Where I think the guys would have been like, dude, we try to tell you. And it probably would have hurt morale a little bit. And honestly, they got some of that too, where they're like, I guess, hey, we got over this hill. Oh.
Well, and similar to, they had other paths that they were like, we could have done this differently. Yeah. And it would have been a lot shorter. Yeah. So now maybe they would have survived.
What was interesting is when they finally got to Oregon, and they had to like, where are we gonna stay for the winter? That was actually one where they put it out to a vote to everyone. Like, wherever you guys want to go. They had 3 spots. Like, we'll do one of the 3. But part of it, they were like, these all stink, and we want buy-in from everybody, right? So that no one can point to us and go, you picked the horrible spot. And so,
because they knew they were all bad.
Exactly. And they were not wrong. It was pretty miserable. Wow. All of the Indians in Oregon were like, just not the same caliber as some of the others. Like, they regularly tried to steal stuff from them. Just didn't seem as educated, motivated, that kind of thing. And so they were like, that was their frustration.
Grumpy because they were soggy.
Dude, right?
All the time.
Yeah, it was fascinating. It was super fun in the book. I was like, I know where that is. I recognize that name all of a sudden. That was super cool. But then they were just like, this is miserable, dude. I feel for you, man. I get it. All right, let's close out this old field journal, if you will. And there was I don't know. So a field journal, right? The idea behind it is this is how you move forward when there's no map. Like, it's your thing of, hey, I'm taking notes. I'm trying to figure it out along the way. So if I had to distill it down to just those few entries, right? It's move with direction, not certainty. Expect the portage or the grind. Reality, it's going to break your plan. So be prepared to adjust. And second or fourth, not all value shows up on paper, such as the people part of it. And then you won't always get consensus first. That's okay. Defensible thesis and a willingness to live with it. I think it's really good. And again, it's not that Lewis and Clark didn't have any better information. They just kept moving forward. And in my experience, like, I think that's the trick. You just don't know. You just kind of keep going forward. So when you're standing at your own fork in the river, and you actually are missing information, are you just being asked, the question you got to ask yourself, am I just being asked to move forward without a map? And if so, that's okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of a lot of biblical principles, actually, where it's like, you are not going to know.
Which, by the way,
exactly where this is going.
One of the other times and places where women were highly respected relative to culture.
Yeah.
And it was very countercultural at that time to be like, no, women are important and have value. What? So, So I can respect the Sacagawea piece from that standpoint.
Exactly.
Just trying not to get canceled here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So there you go. It was a great book. I enjoyed listening to it. It was Undaunted Courage. I think I've already mentioned that. It's worth a listen. It was pretty good. And if you want to know about our Undaunted Courage in investing and what we do, you can check us out at furlo.com. You can see our investing thesis that I like to think is defensible and I regularly live with. And and if you're interested in investing, there's ways for you to do that. So with that, thanks for listening. Have a great day.